Hello, folks. Thanks again for tuning in to the Britt Kanawha West Hancock Athletics Podcast. Dan Crawl here, October 17th, 2024, episode 117. And tonight I have two from the Eckels clan. I have Dylan on the bottom of the screen and Josiah on the left side of the screen. Both were standout athletes the past, 10 or 15 years. Both grandsons of Bill and Marilyn Eckels, owners of the cobbler shop and staples of the Britt community. So welcome, fellas. Appreciate you guys coming on here tonight. Um, like always, though, this podcast isn't possible without my sponsors. I have 9 regular sponsors and then 11 lifetime sponsors for a total of 20. So I want to make sure I recognize them. I got Trolson Auto Parts, Daniels Auto Collision in Charles City, Jeff and Becky Nielsen, Lehman Family Dental in Clear Lake, Katie's Salon and Tanning in Titonka, Tracy Smith, Dave Hewling, and Jay Hiscocks State Farm Insurance, and the Britt Food Center. Have you ever been to the Britt Food Center?
Once or twice.
Yeah, not bad stuff in there. So, and then I made sure they got the big logo tonight, along with Grandpa Bill and the Cobbler Shop. My lifetime sponsors: Levi Dawn Trucking, Window World in Mason City. Want to send my condolences out to Katie Showalter, owner of Window World. Her mother just passed away this week. We also have Doug and Kathy Zool, Pritchard's Auto, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Triple B's Food Trucks, Swenson's Hardware, Zach and Chris Schlugger, Nick Schmidt, and new lifetime sponsors Kelly Real Estate, and the Britt Car Truck Bike and Tractor Night Cruises and Mojo Productions owned by Jared Wingert. Those sponsors I just listed at the end there, they all gave $400 to be lifetime sponsors. If you want to do that or just sponsor some episodes, get a hold of me or go to sangerstrong.com if you just want to give to the Sanger Legacy Fund. And speaking of the Sanger Legacy Fund, that money is used to fund our Hall of Fame. I just got plaques from 2020, 21, and 22 Hall of Fame inductees mailed out this week. We're a little behind on that from before when I became the chairman of the Hall of Fame. So we got those sent out to all those inductees. We also give scholarships to graduating seniors. We support the athletic and activity funds. We've helped with Hobo Day Run timing systems. We've helped the speech program, just lots of things that money goes to. So go to sangerstrong.com if you want to give to the Legacy Fund. Way back when, 50 episodes ago, in episode 67, I talked to Steve Lansing. And 100 episodes ago, in episode 17, the 1996 state championship football team. We had a great time talking about that second state title in school history. So, all right, fellas, here we go. I need to stop talking. Let's start with introductions. Tell us who you are, where you're at these days, family, job, all that good stuff. What's keeping you busy? How about young guy first? Dylan, what's keeping you busy these days?
I'm staying busy. I just got married this summer to my wife, Sydney. And I work at the grocery store in town. I'm the meat man at the store and living in Britt. Other than that, and I also am the assistant, just helping out with basketball here at the high school with Coach Savoy, just as a voluntary coach. So
nice. And your wife, Sydney, refresh people's memory. Is she local as well?
Yeah, she grew up in Garner. So,
ooh, okay. Sorry to hear that. But you're living in Britt. You got her,
yes.
Good job.
Yep. That's right.
Josiah, how about you? What's keeping you busy?
Oh, well, I'm living in Pleasant Hill down here in Des Moines. Working in cabinet sales right now. Kind of driving all over the state of Iowa doing that. And my wife and I, Ashley, we just welcomed our first son a couple weeks back. So that's keeping us pretty busy and awake.
Yeah. Congratulations, both of you. Marriage and a kid. You guys aren't going anywhere for a while. So good job doing that. Yeah. At the whim of a little one and a wife. So congratulations. You guys, other cousins, other Eckels kids, Cameron, Caleb, others, fine athletes, the Eckels crew in general, the last, like I said, 10, 15 years, you guys have been staples of West Hancock athletics, all sports across the board. We're going to talk about football, talk about basketball, hit a little bit of everything, whatever you guys want to talk about. So I'm excited. And like I said, Grandpa Bill, I think he's what is it, 1961 or 62 Britt grad. Is Grandma Marilyn, is she from Britt as well, or is she? Do you remember her background before
She
she married?
was she grew up on a farm. I don't think she went to Britt High School. I think country school. I don't think she ever went to Britt unless you know, Dylan.
No, I don't believe so.
Thing is, growing up, I've known your family my whole life, but she's always just Marilyn Eckels. So I'm like, maybe I should have looked up.
That's all we've ever known her as.
But yeah, never knew her anything besides Marilyn Eckels. So, yep. So, Josiah, let's start with you a little bit here. You graduated in 2013. You were on some pretty good football teams, including the 2011 state runner-up team. That we could argue that was a team good enough to obviously be state champions. Broken leg, a couple plays away from winning that championship. And then your senior year as well, made it to the second round. What are some memories you have of playing for Coach Sanger, Coach Perkins, playing in that era, 2009 to 2012?
And that's just playing for Coach Sanger and Coach Perkins. I mean, it's just growing up as a little kid watching all the West Hancock football teams. You dream about playing for them one day, and then you're actually there, and it's like it lives up to the hype. There were incredible coaches, incredible role models, just everything you could ask for a program like West Hancock.
Yeah, and you were kind of a jack of all trades. Both of you were actually on the football field. I went through game by game box scores that I've accumulated over the years, and you both just did a little bit of everything on the field. Some notes that I took down: big games. Your junior year, Josiah, the Lamar's Galen games. They beat you twice in 2010. Got you week 3 of 2011, 38-28. We kind of figured we'd have to play them again in the playoffs to get to the Dome. We did in Britt, 47-40. Remember going to that game, just a back and forth wild exchange. Got them in the quarterfinals. That was exciting. Obviously, the Madrid game in the Dome, 48-38. Then that lost to Lisbon, 14-12. Some of your personal achievements in games, some of your stats. 36-33 win against Garner. You had a 45-yard interception. Marcus Meriden Cleghorn a couple weeks later, you had an 87-yard interception against them. I got a question. How do you intercept a ball 87 yards and not score? What's the story on that one?
From what I remember on that, it came down to kind of down the sideline, diving for the pylon, and according to the refs, I guess I didn't make it in. I'm not so sure, but have to go by what they said on that one.
Got to be the longest interception without a touchdown, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed.
Were you safety, cornerback? What did you mostly play defensively? Where were you at?
The 2011 team, the runner-up team, I was just played corner on that team. And then 2012, my senior year, I moved back to safety on that team on the defensive side.
Speaking of interceptions, you got another one against Garrigan. The semifinals, you got this one in the end zone, an 88-yard pick six against Madrid, which we won by 7, so every point mattered in that one. That was also a big deal of a game. Not only did we go to the championship from that win, it was also Coach Sanger's 300th win. That's a lot of wins. 358 is what he ended up with in his career. Dylan, you got to be a part of several of those as well. So talk about the championship game. 14-12 loss to Lisbon in the Dome. You had 3 tackles. Talk about just the excitement of leading up to a state championship game, the game itself, the stuff that happened that led us to losing by 2. What do you remember about that game?
I mean, kind of going back to the Gielan game, like we said, that playing them 4 times in 2 years, we always knew that we would have to get past them in order to reach our ultimate goal. And after that crazy quarterfinal game, that was a big momentum boost for us. We felt like we could do anything. And then, I don't know, a great Madrid game that was also fun. And, we were feeling pretty good going into the Lisbon game. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but, it was a lot of excitement, a lot of emotion. And then, yeah, a lot of crazy things happened in that game. It's hard to bounce back from an incident like that, losing Waldo the way we did in that game. He was definitely an emotional leader on our team, one of our best players. I thought we fought back pretty well, and at the end, it just didn't break our way. But memories, a lot of memories, and a great talk by Coach Sanger after the game in the locker room. I don't really remember the words. We were all down, and he came in and he talked about how proud he was and all of that, and it just again reiterating how great of a coach he was to play for and how much of a leader he was.
Yeah, because we've said it many times on here. No one hated losing more than Coach Sanger, but when it was in front of the boys after a loss, he didn't, never blamed anybody, never took it out on anybody, never was upset. He just focused on the players. That's what I always appreciated about him. Zach Schlugger. We talked about Waldo breaking his leg. That's Gerardo Ibarra. In that Galen game and that Madrid game, I think he had like 9 or 10 touchdowns. They were all like 40 to 80 yards long. And that a lot of the Lisbon game, the key was when Gerardo got hurt, Lisbon had a good game plan of shutting Zach down, and then it led to Chris Schlugger being more of the main back, and that just kind of limited our possessions there. Talk about playing with Zach and just the fact that every time he touched the ball, there was a chance it was going the distance.
Yeah, that year I only played on the defensive side of the ball. So on the offense, when the offense was out on the field, I was, waiting. And yeah, I always had to make sure, you have to keep your helmet on, make sure you had your water, because you never know, in a heartbeat, he could score and you'd have to go back out there and play defense. So just a phenomenal athlete.
And you're passing each other, like, thanks for the break, Zach. I got a whole 18 seconds on the sideline before you scored.
Right.
Yeah. Dylan, you were a couple years younger, so you weren't in high school when Josiah was playing. What do you remember about watching Josiah, watching some of your other cousins or siblings play? What do you remember leading up to you getting into high school watching these guys play?
Yeah. I remember going to state. They went once, right? You guys made the dome once.
2011.
I remember watching.
Not make it that next year, no.
Yeah, I remember. What was it? 09, they also made it. When did they make it again?
06, 07, they made it to the semis. And then 08 and 09 were losing seasons. 2010, we lost in the quarters at home. And then 2011 was the finals. 2012, they lost in the second round.
Okay. Yeah, I remember 07 too, going to the dome when I was just a young kid. But I don't know. I mean, watching those teams too. And I mean, gosh, I thought that team with Josiah was the greatest team to ever be assembled through Britt from what I remember watching. But no, it was just cool to see for sure. It definitely put goals for us younger kids going up and playing football. I think it's always a goal to try to go there. I mean, it didn't happen terribly too often when I was growing up. So it was very cool to see, very cool to go to and watch, and just watch that team as a whole. They had a ton of good athletes on that team. So it was really cool to see.
Yeah. And then Josiah, your senior year, 2012, completely different looking team on offense. You transitioned into like a tight end receiver, but it was the Chris Schlugger show for the most part. We went from having Zach and Chris outside, inside, inside, outside to pretty much an inside the tackles type of team. I don't have the stats right in front of me, but Chris is a professional tackle in the Canadian Football League right now, but he was a 6'3", 240-pound fullback back in 2012. Routinely carried the ball 30-plus times a game. What do you remember about that shift and how still running the ball, obviously, but what was that like, the change in offense without having Zach and Gerardo and some of those guys?
We knew that we would have to, basically grind teams down with the physicality. We didn't have the same big play explosiveness that we grew accustomed to with that 2011 team and really all through Zach's career. So, Chris, props to him. He carried the ball 40 times a game and everybody's trying to bring him down. And, it was, it was tough to be a one trick team like that. And we yeah, at the end, we didn't get as far as we wanted to certainly that year, but still, great teammates, great class. I wouldn't trade the teammates and the memories from those seasons.
Yeah. And you would have had a teammate named Eric Kroll if my parents hadn't moved. My brother was like, I'm kind of glad we went down to 8-man my senior year because I got tired of trying to tackle Chris. He goes, you'd get a tackle on him, but it was only because he ran you over and you held on for dear life type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
we always talked about if Eric was still in Britt, my parents didn't move to Buffalo Center, what that 2011 and 2012 teams, what those teams would have looked like possibly. Um, so you ended your career with a 9-2 record your senior year, lost in the second round to Akron Westfield. It's still to this day the only second round loss we've ever had. That round came into the playoffs in like 2008. Stayed for about 6-7 years, went away for a little bit. Now it's back. You ran the ball a little bit at the end of that season. Had a couple games where you'd carry the ball a few times. What kind of plays were set up for you to run the ball? Remember how that looked?
They did a kind of like an end around, so they still do that counter play with the wing back. That's still, I see that every now and then. We tried it a couple of times with me, doing a counter play. It didn't work as well as we'd like, but still, it was fun to get the chance to carry the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mix up, trying to keep them on their toes. We don't want 11 guys right in the middle waiting for Chris to run. Try to spread them out a little bit. Any type of play we could come up with.
Yeah. Yeah. And you caught some passes. St. Ansgar, you had 4 catches for 100 yards. Punt return, kick returns. You scored a little bit there. Had some good yardage there. Just did it, like I said, just kind of did it all. So, Dylan, let's go to you here. You played for Coach Sanger, 2013 to 2016. Josiah's last season was 2012, like we just said. So you were an 8th grader his senior year. He leaves, you come in. So it's a lot of years of Eckels playing football for Coach Sanger. He saw a 3-6 season his freshman year, then quarterfinal, state runner-up, second round. Your career started a little bit different, but still with a losing record, which doesn't happen often. Your freshman year was that 0-9 season. What do you remember? Because you said I was in awe of these guys as a young kid going to the Dome. Can't wait to get to high school and play ball. Then all of a sudden, boom, 0-9. How'd you feel about that?
A lot of long practices, a lot of yelling. Didn't dress. I might have dressed at the end of the year, kind of that Bob would do that where he kind of dressed a couple freshmen, unless you were playing, but he would, grab a couple freshmen late in the year to dress. I think I started dressing later in the year, but no, it wasn't very fun at all. The practices sucked for sure. Our JV team was good though. I don't even know if we lost a game. I guess I don't remember for sure. So the JV parts of it were fine when you're doing JV instead of varsity practices, but a lot of conditioning. So it was tough for sure. I mean, especially coming off, Josiah's senior year, the type of teams that they had to completely fall off the edge and start from rock bottom. It was definitely unique. But going on later in the couple years to follow, I mean, it was cool to kind of build it back up. So.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for that 2013 team and then the couple teams after that. 2016, we made the quarters. We have not made the quarterfinals since then. I mean, we have 8 straight seasons of the quarterfinals or better. So you guys, your group, you could have easily been like, well, West Hancock football's dead. We're done. And now look what we've had in the last 10 years. We've had 3 titles, a runner-up, a bunch of quarterfinals, a couple semifinal appearances. So it's pretty neat to see us go from one extreme to the other, especially after, Josiah's seasons of, in the Dome and second round appearances, quarterfinal appearances. Josiah, how did you feel? You left, went to go to college. I'm sure you're checking in on things. Was it shocking to see the team struggle as bad as they were?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to see West Hancock struggle like that. It was not something that we thought could happen. But we had I think our senior year there was 22 starting positions. I think seniors were 19 of them. I mean, we knew it would be a challenge because we filled a lot of spots that year. Not a lot of younger guys getting playing time. So it was a rough year, but then watching, Dylan, get to be an upperclassman, they bounced back and they had some fun, exciting teams to watch there your junior, senior year. So I enjoyed watching them.
Yep. Your sophomore year, Dylan, you guys 5-5, first round loss in 15, 7-3 record, and then your senior year 2016 again quarterfinals, and then we haven't not been to the quarters or better ever since then. So that's pretty cool streak we have going on here. Again, just like Josiah, Dylan, you were kind of the jack of all trades. Like for instance, your junior season against GHV, you returned a punt for a touchdown. You had 8 tackles. You kicked the extra points. You probably never left the field hardly.
You kicked the extra points?
We might have just because. Well, we did against Garner. I kicked an extra point.
On occasion. I don't remember if it was against Garner. I might have just stacked that in there with the paragraph with Garner, but you kicked 8 to 10 probably.
I did kick. We did kick some field goals.
Yeah. Not many. We're kicking a lot more this year than we have in years past. That's for sure. So, the Belmont game, you had a big interception. That game had playoff implications. You had a touchdown catch and a loss to Garrigan. That junior season, then your senior year, you moved to quarterback. Talk about the change of you going to quarterback that year.
Yeah, Connor graduated. He was the quarterback the 2 previous years. And I will admit, the 2 previous years before that, I don't think Sanger had ever opened up the playbook like he did those 2 years. I mean, we were running 4 wide. If you go back and watch my sophomore year tape, ton of throwing it around the yard, because I just think he wanted to shake it up, try to find something that works with the guys that we had. But going into the senior year, felt like we had lost a lot of guys, but felt like we had a pretty good class. Had some really good juniors that found their way onto the field. And really, to be honest, I'd run a couple bootlegs, but most of the time I was just handing it off to Jordan and Colton and watching them, drop their shoulders into kids all night. But other than that, it's a pretty easy transition for me from going to quarterback. I mean, I knew the plays in and out. I played quarterback growing up, so it wasn't difficult at all.
Yeah. And you said Colton Francis, Jordan Weiland. Just carry out your fakes, and then a couple times a game you get your chance to run into some open green space there. You ran for 2 touchdowns. You threw for 1 against Belmont. You threw 1 to Caleb Eckels against North Butler. You had a kickoff return touchdown against West Fork, 2 rushing touchdowns against Grundy Center. You had 2 interceptions against Newman. You had a pick 6 at Rockford, 2 rushing touchdowns against St. Ansgar. You threw 1 to Bennett Bruins against Nashville Plainfield. Just again, did a little bit of everything. First round of the playoffs, you guys beat Hudson 30-7. You had 8 tackles and a rushing touchdown. And then your last game, I put the word bitter in there. Losing to Garrigan's always bitter. 12-8 loss on the road to Garrigan in the quarterfinals. Talk about your last game and being just 1 score short of making it to the Dome.
I mean, we felt really good about our defense that year. I mean, we weren't giving up a whole lot of points to anybody. St. Ansgar had scored 27 on us, but they actually ran a couple of trick plays on us in that game. Other than that, we weren't really giving up a whole lot of points. So we knew going into that game, we actually played at Garrigan. We played at Garrigan that night. It was a good game. I mean, it was a little back and forth, not a lot of points being scored, obviously, but they hit a halfback pass, I believe, a big halfback pass. I think it scored. Can't remember for sure if it scored a touchdown or not. but we had a chance in the end, doing our best makeshift 2-minute offense that we had, I guess. I had a shot to score at the end. I think we got to the red zone, but didn't pull through. It sucked. But they were a really good team. I mean, they went on to the state final game. So, I mean, they were a really good team. It was pretty upsetting at the time, but I mean, pretty happy with how the season turned out as a whole. I mean, came up a little short, but felt like we set on the right path, and we knew, I mean, the class is on down. We knew we've set them in the right path, and they kind of just had taken it to a whole nother level now, obviously. But yeah, it sucked at the time. But looking back at it, I mean, it was a good game. They beat us, but yeah.
Yep. Talk about playing for Coach Sanger, Coach Perkins, all the other assistants. Coach Perkins retired the following year after 2017, so kind of got him right at the end. And then obviously Coach Sanger, his last season was 2019. He was not well health-wise 2018 and 19. So you were right at the tail end of both of those guys' career. Talk about playing for those two and the other coaches.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly. I don't know if Perkin called every game towards the end. He might have just done games. I think maybe Mark Sanger did a couple games through a stretch. I don't know I can't remember exactly, but loved them both. I mean, Bob was awesome to play for. You just had so much respect for him for how long he had been there, and the respect that everyone else had shown him too. So it was awesome to play for, especially, you have the right mindset, do what you can during practice, get better, perform on the field on Friday nights. And for the most part, you're on Sanger's good side. So, and in both of them, both coaches, from what I remember, I mean, you gave full effort. They were happy with that. You're giving full effort when you're being lazy and stuff like that, they get on you. But I mean, that is what it is. That's what you want from your coaches. The rest of the staff, I love the coaching staff going through, having Coach Ice and Coach Hagan and Francis and all those guys on the staff, especially running through JV programs. They really helped. I think a lot of guys, really fall in love with playing football. And but yeah, loved Coach Sanger, Coach Perkins, and really the entire staff. So.
And I'd say you both left the program in a better spot than how you found it. Josiah 09, 3-6 season. You guys end up in the state finals your junior year. Dylan, again, like we said, 0-9 your freshman year, quarterfinals your senior year. And then since then, we've been quarterfinals, semis, state champs, quarterfinals, state champs, runner-up, state champs. And this year, hopefully, is just as good. Next year, they return a bunch. Sounds like JV is doing really well. 8th grade's really good. It's just quite the run we're on right now. So, and a sport we didn't necessarily have a lot of success in for many, many years was basketball. And then you two played in kind of the golden era of West Hancock basketball. Josiah, when you were in high school, the girls basketball team made it to state a couple times, got into the first round and the semifinals. You guys had winning records, I think all but maybe 1 year you were in high school. And then Dylan, we'll get to you in a little bit. You guys were pretty decent, I'd say. So three trips to state, not too shabby. So Josiah, you played full-time in basketball your last 2 years, played a little bit here and there as a sophomore. Sophomore year, you scored 4 points. Junior year, 172. Your senior year, 183 for a total of 359 points. Like I said, your teams were at or above 500 each of those seasons. What do you remember about playing basketball?
For basketball, I always considered myself an athlete who just happened to also be on the basketball court. My job was to who is the best player on their team. If he's not a center, then okay, then I'm guarding him most of the game. That was more my role both years. When it came to the dribbling and the shooting, that was definitely not where I was. Not where my strengths lie.
you described yourself as an athlete who played basketball. Up until about your era, that's how we all described ourselves as basketball players. And Britt was
Mm-hmm.
athletes who happened to play basketball if you didn't wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
When I played, Lake Mills was very good, and there was a kid on that team named Joe Wolfel, and I took college classes with him. And I said, Joe, what does your coach tell you when you're getting ready to play us? And he goes, guys, they're just a bunch of football players on wearing basketball uniforms for a few months, so expect to get hit in the mouth a few times tonight. I said that was one of the best compliments we ever received. So yep, just go out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
Where did
Yeah,
you score most of your points? Down low, outside, free throw line?
I believe most of my points were like offensive rebounds, like slashing to the basket, getting the quick putback, or
Yep.
steals and fast break layups, things like that.
Yep. And you
Yeah.
played, who were your coaches at the time? I can't remember off the top of my head when Coach Peterson came into Britt.
So if I remember correctly, Coach Peterson started when I was an 8th grader.
Okay. So you had
because I think his first year was the year with Brandon Gowen's senior year and Gerardo and Jacob Patterson's freshman year.
Yeah.
And so yeah, basketball program, it was kind of a build up, as Gerardo was, one of the better players to ever do it at West Hancock basketball wise. And it was just kind of, it was his team and we were there. And then, obviously the state title game, football kind of, once we got to basketball season, we kind of realized, oh, wow, this is going to be a little bit different. So yeah, that we maybe, when the school year started, we had some higher expectations of what we might be able to accomplish on the basketball court. But, we went out there and, fought, and it was great that he was able to get in and play a few games towards the end of the year. It was good for him to see. It was something he really deserved. So
yeah.
Then senior year was interesting. That was definitely a transition year. There was a lot of talent in the class above, Waldo, Jacob Patterson, Eric Cox, Johnny Ekoff, a good group of seniors who played basketball. And then, then there was a younger generation of kids, Trevor Nayland, Jordan Savoy, Connor Sonias, Nate Paulus, a group that would go on to start the real golden era of West Hancock basketball. So getting to play with them was a fun experience too. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun for us alums to watch. We played for Coach Drake, and Coach Drake knew his basketball. He was one of those knowledgeable basketball coaches I ever met. But his style was more ground and pound, run a set, get a good shot after a set. We'd have 25, 30-second possessions and then transition to you guys a couple years later. And then especially in Dylan's era, it's like Coach P wanted that ball shot about every 6 seconds, I'm pretty sure. It was just like, get the ball up. How many shots can we take tonight? And it was go, go, go. So that was a very different style and a fun style, obviously.
So when we played North Iowa and there was a certain member of the Krull family on the court, who were you rooting for? What color shirt were you wearing?
I had to cheer for my brother, but
I got to give that to you.
Were tough. His group, they had a good made to state their junior year, and
that was a good team. I remember we had a game at North Iowa my junior year, and Coach P is like laying out the game plan. It's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna run a triangle and 2. And Josiah, you face guard Eric Krull, and John, you face guard Troy Ketwick.
Yep.
And it, I thought we did pretty good. We, they were both averaging like close to 20 points a game. We held them to, I think, 20 points combined, maybe. But that group was too talented across the board. They found a way to win.
Yeah, they had that little Anderson kid that could slash. Corey Hobbs could shoot from anywhere. Mark Milbrandt, unless he was at the free throw line, he could put it in down low. They had a pretty good group. So
yeah.
And Dylan, you come in. You were a part of 3 state tournament teams. That 2015 team was pretty special because it was the first time in 85 years a team from Britt had made it to the state tournament. You scored sophomore season 118 points, 359. No offense, Josiah, but his junior year point total was your career total points.
I never never debated that he got me in basketball. I think I got him in a couple of the other sports, but basketball I never claimed to be that was not my strong suit.
Yeah. And then senior year, 454 points, total of 931. Have you ever looked back and gone, I could have found 69 more points out there for 1,000? Did you ever think back on that?
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of when it was my senior year, just got over. I was like, man, couldn't find a couple more games to score a couple more points, but
Couple free throws here, a couple free throws there. Yeah.
right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And you also had over 300 rebounds, over 200 assists, over 150 steals. I don't know how many guys in school history have ever done that before. And then record wise, those 3 seasons, 22-5, 25-3, 21-5. Talk just in general or specific stories about that three-year run of going to state each year.
Well, I think it was a combination of things. Obviously, the class above me spent a lot of time growing up playing road ball and AAU, getting out there. I think that's the main thing about basketball growing up. It's a very skill-based game, especially in Class A basketball. If you have talent and you know how to play basketball, it goes a long ways. And growing up, just loved playing basketball. Nate and Connor, and a couple other, Ricky Ibarra, Nelson Bronca, Colton Reuter, just a good group of kids that loved playing basketball together. So kind of just worked out that way. And then, of course, my class gets in. We got very, very fortunate that Seth Weiland grew up to be 6'9". Can't really – there was no one in the conference really that could do anything with him offensively. If you go back and look, I don't even know what would it be. I can't remember Seth committing more than 2 fouls in a game ever. So his ability to block shots and then also never commit fouls was a nightmare for everybody. But yeah, it was just a combination. Like I said, the class above me, and then also the like Jordan Savoy and Joey DeHart and Trevor Nalen senior year. Those were 3 really good players that stuck it through and paid off their senior year. Then you have the dominant class of Nate and Connor, and those guys really just kind of took off. I mean, we were just playing good basketball. There was nothing more to it than that, kind of playing. And I got to give Coach B credit. I mean, and I guess I don't really know, because when I came in, it was kind of just play how you want to play. That was my experience going through the program. Do what works, for you. And I think that really allowed all of us to play free and not worry about what we're doing too much. Probably wasn't like that always, but when you're winning 20 games a year, it's a little lenient on what you can do on the court. But yeah, super, super good group of guys as well. Not just basketball players. So fun. And yeah, like I said, going into my senior year, then, I mean, we really just having Seth, I can't speak on it enough how special of a player and he really was. I mean, to be 6'9", lead the state in blocks, I think 2 years in a row, he led the state in blocks. And then just had a really pretty 3-point shot too on offense, really stretched the floor out. It was a combination of things that really allowed us to go on that run. So
yeah, 6'9", but with the hair, what, 7'1" probably?
Yeah. I mean, can't miss him.
Yeah. And then, well, you can't not talk about Ben Eisman. You had Ben in your class, and I like Ben. Just see him at Hobo Days every year and give him a hard time about something. So, especially I think he had a mustache this year or last year that was just not great. So,
oh yeah, I mean, my senior year was actually, I think Lucas Wyland was planning on being our 5th starter that year, but he had, I can't remember the exact injury, something with his leg. He had a leg injury. And Chase was our sixth man. So Chase got bumped into the 2 guard spot. So my senior year, we had the Iceman Cousins in the backcourt. So pretty good. I can't complain about that. So
Yep. And your senior year, no offense, but like when you had, like I said, the 2015, 2016 team, that team was kind of navigated by Paulus and Sonius, and those guys graduated. And I think some people were like, well, without those two, those are two guys that are pretty tough to replace. And then you guys go out and make it back to state anyway. So your senior year had to have been pretty special just in that regard of lose 2 all-state, all-time type players in school history, and doesn't matter. We're back in Des Moines.
yeah, I think really that my senior year, we had spent, the previous 3 just observing and learning from how these 2 classes above us carried themselves and how they were able to win games on the court. So really, I mean, we just kind of took what they did, and shifted the parts around a little bit. But like, Ben had a ton of experience from his junior year. Me and Seth obviously had been starters. So, you return really like 3 guys that played a whole lot. So we had three good core guys, and then you bring guys like Glenn Smith and Garrett Fosdick and Chase and Gavin Becker, and you fill in the cracks, and everyone has a role, and they stick to their role and they do it well. Good things happen. So
Yep. Where did most of your points come from? Inside, outside, combination of the two?
Little everything. I mean, wasn't scared to shoot it. Really enjoyed driving mostly, driving and kicking, but would shoot it as well. Kind of just take what the defense gives you at the time. So
Talk about playing in Des Moines that first year, 2015. We maybe a little shell shock going down playing. Was it Danville? I believe got beat handily there. But then you go down and make it to the semis, win the consolation game. What was that like going down to Wells Fargo?
Yeah, first year I think it's pretty spot on. The Danville team was actually they were a very good team. They had a couple really good guys, but and a lot of people say this, when you're a 3-point shooting team, kind of like how we always were, it's a little different shooting in an arena than it is in a gym. So getting adjusted to that. But the following year, I mean, we felt like, we had the guys to do it. So we went in our second year with all the confidence in the world. So a lot smoother going. You do it once, you come back, you got a better idea of what's going to happen and how things go. So yeah, it was definitely fun playing down there. We got our butts kicked twice, playing down there, but I mean, still super fun experience. It's always good to win your sub-state game. That's always a fun night when you win it. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's when you go down there and you take it 3 years in a row, it felt really good at the time. So
yep. Yeah, and a guy like me, we never made it out of the first round. So, I'd take a butt kicking at state any day over not being there, that's for sure. So yeah, it was just a cool run we had because West Hancock football school, old wrestling school, track school. And then there was about a 8-year stretch. Girls basketball made it in 11 and 12. We made it 15, 16, 17. Girls made it back in 19 and 20. I mean, so for about a decade there, we were at state, 7 times between the 2 programs. That was just a fun era for, alums like us, guys playing like you, classmates of yours, just a good time. So what other sports did you guys play or participate in high school besides football and basketball?
So we were both track and baseball as well. And track was where I had pretty good success. And that was, more opportunity to, be coached and led by Bob Sanger, which was just, you soak up all you can from him. And that was a fun experience. Get to run at state a few times. those are some of my fondest sports memories. Definitely happened on the track.
What was your specialty?
400s, but I did a little bit of everything. I had a meet where I ran, an 800 in the medley. Then I ran anchoring the 4x1 and the 4x4 all within, about a 30-minute span. That's high school track for you, though.
Yep. I just
But
remember.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and then yeah, 400 was my specialty. My individual event was the 400. Qualified twice in state for that. Finished third my junior year. It was a pretty close race. It was, within a step or two for the top three guys. And then my senior year, the way qualifying works, you have to, it's all time seeded. There's no prelims for the 400 at state. So due to the weather and, not a lot of competition in the district meet, I ended up being in the second of 3 heats. So I won that heat by a good margin, but I didn't get to compete against the top guys. But the guy who won that year ran the fastest in all 4 classes, and I didn't eclipse his time until I went to college. So I don't think I would have beat him that day anyways.
So my mom used to babysit you and Elizabeth for sure. You would be at our house, the old church house, the old Christian Reformed church, and you would be on all 4s, like sprinting up and down that like room that we had downstairs, the basement room by the kitchen. You'd be like gazelle running on your hands and legs, back and forth, back and forth. And then when you were making it to state and track, my dad was like, "Yeah, I saw that coming, just watching him as a 5-year-old or whatever he was, just doing laps around our house constantly." It was like, yep, we could see that coming. So, Dylan, what about you in track? How'd you do?
I was slow. So
you ran at state. Come on now.
Yeah, well, so what you do in Britt when you can't run 1, 2, or 1, 2s or 4s is you gut out an 800. And so, so I ran 4s and 8s mostly in track. Did long jump too, wasn't any good at it, but yeah, I made state a couple times. We had a couple of really good 800 runners. Joey DeHart was he ran 800 exceptionally well, but other than that, I wasn't too much of a benefit to the track team. But
so I got to correct you. You said if you're from Britt and you don't run 1, 2s, and 4s, you run 8s. I'm from Britt. I couldn't run 1, 2s, and 4s, and I definitely chose not to run 8s. I showed up as a weight boy, and we ran and stretched and we lifted, and then that was it. So
yeah,
you definitely could do some things more than others, that's for sure. So, and then baseball, you got the privilege of playing against Newman Catholic a couple times every year. Talk about your baseball experiences at West Hancock.
We almost got him one time. My senior year, we lost 6-5 at home.
Oh, nice.
Senior year, actually, the way rules work here in Iowa, Dylan and I actually got to be on the same team.
Yep.
And I know Dylan played a little bit, mostly pinch running for John Burgart, but
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Make sure John knows that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that was another cool aspect of that, because I know we'll talk about Bill later, but Bill got to be in the press box and do the announcing for those games. When I don't know if he continued to do it after I was gone, Dylan. I don't really remember, but I know he did it for most of my high school career.
I don't remember either. I think he did it when I was in high school still. So
yeah, baseball was.
You guys are young. You should remember all this stuff. You're not old like me yet.
Baseball was definitely interesting at West Hancock. Not the most popular sport. I remember, playing as an 8th grader. I think my first 3 years of baseball, we won 2 games total. And then by the time my senior year rolled around, a group of us, myself, John Burgart, Mason Muth, Zach Paulus, we'd been playing, since 8th grade, and we finally put together a decent team with a couple of younger guys, Connor Sonius, Nate Paulus, Dylan and Jordan Weiland were pinch running on that team. And we actually put together a 10-win season and won a couple playoff games. And
10 and 11. What was the record?
10 wins, maybe 12 losses. Then we lost the district championship game in the last inning. And if we had won that game, we would have been playing Newman for the right to go to principal at state, which I probably wouldn't have gone very well, but still exciting to think about.
Give yourself a chance, that's for sure. And I got to go back to John Burgart. When he got on base, I assumed it was a walk. I just can't picture John actually hitting the ball.
He was a pretty good hitter, actually. He wasn't legging out doubles and triples, but he could smack the ball.
Yeah, I can see John turning a double into a single pretty easily, but yeah, definitely.
He had a couple of those, but
yeah.
No, it was pretty good. I would get on base and I would steal second and maybe third, and then John would get the RBI. So I gave him quite a few stats.
I can't speak. I just like to give John crap any chance I can. I think I struck out like 34 straight at bats my 8th grade freshman season. So, but it's, regardless, I got the spotlight here on the podcast. I can give John crap if I want. So
everybody likes giving John crap.
Yeah,
so
it's one of my favorite pastimes. So yeah, Caleb, how about you playing baseball?
I played baseball, but I mean, it was tough going. I mean, I don't think they've won 10 games since Josiah's senior year.
It was, it's West Hancock baseball is, it's tough. When the peak was a 10-win season, which wasn't even a 500 record,
no one's even been close to 500 record either.
Since.
Heck, I don't even know before. I'd like to see what the actual records are.
Yeah, I would. I'd love to see some kind of a record keeping of Britt West Hancock baseball, because there's been some athletes that played in the past, but
I just know they won the conference Kevin Eisman's senior year, I think.
Yep, Rick Sanger, Kevin Eisman, those guys. Yep. That's coming in the future. Right now I'm finishing up wrestling, got football done, obviously, working on girls basketball. Down the road, we'll get some baseball, softball stuff put together. So
cool.
Be a good time. So last thing I want to talk to you guys about tonight. Talked about your athletic career, talked about sports, certain coaches, teammates and stuff. But your grandparents, I mean, I've known your grandparents longer than you have because I'm older than you are, and I grew up in Britt, went to church with these guys. Bill Eckels, Marilyn Eckels, staple of my childhood. The cobbler shop, 60, I think it was 62 years, something like that. They sold it or closed down shop this year. Bill and my dad were friends. The pizza place, Mark's Pizza, was not directly across the street, but a little off to the side there. I would get to watch your grandpa Bill eat a pizza in about 15 seconds. He'd come over for lunch. You want to split a medium? Sure. We'd get the pizza. I would take about 4 bites and I look over and he's done. He's like wiping off his mouth with his napkin. I was like, holy cow. Bill, you're the fastest eater I've ever seen in my life. He goes, oh, my brother puts me to shame, A lot of good memories with Bill. Maryland was my Sunday school teacher for probably a couple of years at least. I just remember between the old church where my family lived and the new church. I remember being in Sunday school classes with her. Britt Christian Reformed Church was, a great place to grow up. And then obviously you guys have the grocery store now here in town in Britt. So the Eckels family is kind of a staple of that community. What can you guys say about Grandpa Bill and Grandma Marilyn?
Well, I spent a lot of time in in the cobbler shop too. Learned to fix shoes, repair shoes, worked in the old sport card store that he had there on the side. I don't remember who actually owned the cards. I don't know who that was.
Merv. I'm drawing a blank on Merv's last name right now. Him and his son, I can picture his son, I can't think of his name. They kind of rented out the space from Bill, and then Bill would obviously have to be in charge of it a lot of times. So
yeah, that was always a cool draw when I was a little kid, and then as I got older, that moved out. The chamber office was in there for a little bit, and then my mom started doing seamstress work on that side, and learned to do shoe repair. As Bill would say, saving souls and taking care of heels. He was full of great bad jokes like that. So
You guys could have written a book of Grandpa Bill's one-liners and yeah, stuff like that. So,
yeah.
And then your great grandpa Forrest spent time with him as well, and then his wife would sit in that chair in the office and just hang out. And Forrest would give me so much crap all the time. He just giving me noogies and always teasing me about something and giving me a hard time. He made it to 100, right? Or right at it. Yeah. Yep.
He made it to 100.
Yep, he was a good guy. And some of my research I do for the school, he was on the school board for many years back in the 60s. Again, just the Eckels family's been around Britt for a long time. So, Dylan, what do you remember growing up with Bill and Marilyn?
I mean, couldn't ask for a better set of grandparents, really. Spent a ton of my time at their house, at the store, at church with them. So the one thing I can't forgive him is he made my dad a Vikings fan, which then translated down to me. So now I gotta suffer through Viking seasons. But actually, he nowadays is Steve is lives in Kansas. So Steve is a Chiefs fan, and he kind of converted Grandpa Bill.
They unfairly used their success in Super Bowls to sway him, and the dirty trick is what it was.
Yeah, he's more of a Chiefs fan now than he is Vikings, but
yeah, they at least aren't miserable like we are all the time now. So, but hey, Vikes are 5-0.
that's right. Yeah, well, we'll see. A lot of ball left. So
yeah. So one thing I always remember about Bill, his blue truck. He had that thing forever. And here's the cobbler shop, here's Swenson's Hardware, and then the side street across from the old bank where Gift So Sweet is now. That truck would always be parked right there, and I'd be riding my bike around town. For some reason, I'd always just go like lay in the back of the truck. Bill would, I'd be hanging out around there, and he goes, "Hey, let's run to Casey's or get something real quick," and I just hop in the car with him, the truck with him. The old seat, is just tears and rips everywhere. Is like that multicolored seat. I don't know how many years ago it's been now, but one of our pastors here at our church in Indianola, I was scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden I stopped and I said, "That looks like Bill's truck. That looks like Ben Segabart, one of my pastors." And then I was like, "That's Bill." Like, Bill sold his truck. He put it on, I don't know, on Craigslist or eBay or something. And Ben's one of my good friends from down here. He bought your grandpa's truck. And so every time I'm back in Indianola or at church, a lot of times I'll find Ben and be like, "Take me for a ride. Let's go." So I wanted to share my screen here real quick. Ben sent me some pictures of Bill's truck of just recently. He takes this thing around. He goes on trips with his kids on it. They go to, I think the next one here might be this one. He uses it to load up his Harley. I don't remember what order I put these in. Yeah, he takes his kids to the drive-in movies and they use the truck. Sometimes if they camp out, he'll put a cab on top of it and they'll sleep in there all night long, him and his kids. And then we're actually friends with their neighbors too. So this is his kids and the neighbor kid hanging out on the truck. I've been in that truck hundreds of times. And when I saw one of my pastors from our church down here bought your grandpa's truck, I was like, that's just, too good to be true. Small world thing. Pretty cool deal. So I still get to see Bill's truck every once in a while when I'm back in Indianola. We don't live there anymore, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. Like I said, Bill and Marilyn, big part of my childhood, big part of my life. Every year for Hobo Days, I'd go to the cobbler shop, check in on Bill. Those brown chairs that are kind of rounded, there's 4 or 5 of them in there. He'd be sitting right there, right by the door where all the sidewalk sales were going on. And every person that came into that place it didn't matter if he knew him like me or it was just some random dude from Kansas that was there for hobo days. He would just harass him, give him a hard time, tease him about something, just make him wonder about things. Um, so this last year or two with him not being up there, it's been, different and it's been tough. So I know Bill's kind of struggling health wise right now. So I wanted to take a little bit of time tonight and acknowledge him and Marilyn and wish him the best as well. So yeah. Any other things you guys want to say about Bill and Marilyn?
It's just yeah, like you said, he no matter who came into the store, treated him like family, gave him a hard time, made him smile. It was one of his goals to make people smile, make people laugh. And yeah, just yeah, great role model. We were lucky to grow up with him.
Yeah.
When did he end up selling that truck?
I was thinking back on it. I should have texted Ben the year. It's probably been.
He said that it was when I was in high school or before that, because he had the white truck in most of high school. So
yeah, but I think he had the blue truck sitting in storage or somewhere for quite a while because it was probably.
Did he sell it to somebody else first?
No, nope. He got it from my buddy Ben. Got it from Bill and Britt. Someone helped him sell it, but yeah, he wasn't.
Maybe that's what it was. But
and he had it in a garage or something somewhere. I'm pretty sure because it's probably been 5-6 years, something like that, since Ben bought it, and he had to put some money and some work into it to get it back to fully functioning because I think it had been sitting idle for a while. But I know Bill hadn't driven it for a while, but he still had it. And,
okay. Yeah, it was sitting at somebody else's house, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he goes, went to Britt, Iowa, never knew this place existed. And then I was like, Ben, I've known you for 8 years. We've talked about where I'm from, but he just, that stuff, all that. So, but the thing with me, if someone mentions the Britt swimming pool in the old elementary school, I can smell that swimming pool. Someone mentions the cobbler shop, I can smell the cobbler shop. Like there was just a distinct smell about that place. You walk in there and go, cobbler shop. This, I'm right back into the 90s when I was a kid. So Grandpa Bill's a good guy. Marilyn, great lady. They've done a lot for the community of Britt. So I just wanted to spend some time acknowledging them. We're going to wrap things up. Thanks again to my lifetime sponsors. You see on the screen there, Levi Don Trucking, Window World, Doug and Kathy Zool, Pritchard's Auto, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Triple B's Food Trucks, Swenson's Hardware, Zach and Chris Schlugger, Nick Schmidt, Kelly Real Estate, and the Britt Car Truck Bike and Tractor Nut Cruises and Mojo Productions. Next up on the podcast this Sunday, so the 20th, Jay Hiscocks, Kevin Wilson, and BC Moore and I are doing a playoff podcast for the first round pairings. And then I'll have one with Lisa Hiscocks, Dave Beech, football coaches' wives, Sue Wood, Kurt DeVore, Mary Ann Skoglund, and then hopefully 3 or 4 more playoff episodes. Hopefully we have a deep playoff run again this fall for West Hancock football. So, fellas, I always leave this last part open for you guys. Anything you forgot to say, people you still need to shout out, all that good stuff. Go ahead.
I don't think I have anything. Just thanks for having us. It's always great to talk about Bill and to see him get some recognition for what a member of the community he was.
Yeah. Of course, thanks for having us again too. Wish Caleb and Cameron could have been on. They both did a lot of good things, playing sports, helping out the community growing up and all that too. So yeah, thanks again for having us on, and yeah, thanks for the nice shout out to Bill and Marilyn. So.
Yep. And Dylan, what are the specials in the meat market right now? What can we expect at the Britt Food Center?
I mean, you come in and talk to me, I'll give you a deal on anything. So
I'll be up the next few Fridays after tomorrow
night.
So I'm gonna hold you to that. Does anyone call you Larry? Larry Hagen, he was there for how many years? Decades, and then had some big shoes to fill there for him. That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. I get a ton of people asking about Larry, and he comes in all the time. So he's oh yeah. So him and Ann are always in the store. So
good. Keep an eye on things. Making sure you're doing it right. So
That's right.
All right, fellas, well, I appreciate your time. It was a good time tonight. And like always, go Eagles.